Hello IELTS champs, I am Dr. John, and in this video we would go through the answers shared by Maria from Ethiopia. This is in response to a question pertaining to task 1 of IELTS writing. I would not be discussing the question, but rather the answer, which is important. Maria has done a fantastic job on this front, and here is Maria's text. The given table and pie chart depicts the data on sources and the application of these funds by the Department of Police. Overall, it is clear that the major provider of funds is the national government, and a greater portion is utilized for providing salaries to the employees of the police department. In the year 2017, half of the revenue generated was from the national government, and the taxes collected locally being the second largest source. While the national government remained to be the major lender of resources, taxes imposed shows an increase of 10% in the year 2018. 3/4 of the finance was spent to give remuneration. On the other hand, only a meager percent of 8 was put into use for technological needs in 2017. The need to update technology was felt in 2018, which led to an increase of an investment twice that of the previous year. It is evident that the employees were paid less by 5% in comparison to the past year. The spending on buildings remained constant in both the years. Let's go through my response line by line, rephrased where necessary and with specific line-by-line explanations for the changes made. Maria wrote in the first paragraph, which is the introductory part, the given table and pie chart depicts the data on sources and the application of these funds by the Department of Police. Here is how I would rephrase the text. The provider table and pie chart illustrate the sources of funding and how these funds are allocated by the police department. Why did we rephrase it? Well, the usage of the phrase "the given" has been changed to "the provided" for a more formal tone. Depicts the word has been replaced with illustrates, as it is a clearer, more common word in academic writing. I also restructure the sentence slightly for smoother flow by swapping sources and the application to sources of funding and how these funds are allocated. In the second paragraph, Maria wrote, overall, it is clear that the major provider of funds is the national government, and a greater portion is utilized for providing salaries to the employees of the police department. Here is how I would rephrase the text. Overall, it is clear that the national government is a primary source of funding, with a larger proportion allocated to employee salaries in the police department. Why did we rephrase it? Well, I've added a comma after overall as per standard UK punctuation rules for introductory phrases. The major provider of funds has been changed to the primary source of funding for precision. A greater portion has been rephrased to a larger proportion to sound more formal and clear. Reworded for providing salaries to the employees of the police department to allocated to employee salaries in the police department for conciseness. In the next paragraph, Maria wrote, in the year 2017, half of the revenue generated was from the national government, and the taxes collected locally being the second largest source, full stop, or period, while the national government remained to be the major lender of resources, taxes imposed shows an increase of 10% in the year 2018 period. Here is how I would rephrase the text. In the year 2017, half of the revenue generated was from the national government, with the local taxes being the second largest source, period. While the national government remained the primary source of funding, taxes after funding, taxes collected locally saw a 10% increase in 2018. Now here are the changes. Taxes collected locally being the second largest source has been adjusted to local taxes being the second largest source for clarity and smoother flow. Proper punctuation and capitalization while at the beginning of a sentence have been applied. W should be in capital letters. While the national government remained to be the major lender of resources, has been changed to while the national government remained the primary source of funding for better precision and clarity. Also, for consistency, the first letters of national government, N and G, has been capitalized as it was done earlier in this text. The phrase taxes imposed shows has been corrected to taxes collected locally saw, because taxes is plural and the verb needs to match. Maria wrote 3/4 of the finance was spent to give remuneration, on the other hand, only a meager percent of 8 was put into use for technological needs in 2017, period. The need to update technology was felt in 2018, which led to an increase of an investment twice that of the previous year. Here is how I would rephrase the text. 3/4 hyphenated of the funds were allocated to remuneration, while only a modest 8% was used for technological needs in 2017. The need for technological upgrades became apparent in 2018, leading to an investment that was twice as high as the previous year. Here are the changes. 3/4 has been corrected to 3/4, hyphenated as a compound noun. Finance was spent to give remuneration has been changed to funds were allocated to remuneration for clarity and conciseness. On the other hand, is somewhat informal, so I replaced it with while to keep the tone academic and formal. Meager percent of 8 has been modified to modest 8% for more formal phrasing. The sentence structure in the second part has been improved to clarify that technological upgrades were needed, leading to a specific investment increase. Increase of an investment twice that of has been corrected to leading to an investment that was twice as high as, for better flow and clarity. Maria wrote, it is evident that the employees were paid less by 5% in comparison to the past year. The spending on buildings remained constant in both the years. Here is how I made the changes. It is evident that employees received 5% less in comparison to the previous year. Spending on buildings remained constant in both years. Now, why did we change? Or what did we change? The employees were paid less by 5% has been simplified to employees received 5% less, making the sentence more direct and clear. In comparison to the past year has been changed to in comparison to the previous year, as previous year is a more formal and standard term. The spending on buildings remained constant is corrected to spending on buildings remained constant to maintain subject-verb agreement. Spending is singular, so remained is used. Okay, that's my review of Maria's text. And yes, Maria has done very well and is on the right track. She structured the report clearly and made a good attempt at summarizing the data. Here are a few things to keep in mind. Punctuation and capitalization. Remember to pay attention to punctuation, especially commas and full stops, or in US parlance, period. This helps make your writing clear and formal. Word choice. Try to use more formal academic vocabulary such as allocated instead of spent and funding instead of finance. Conciseness. Avoid repetition and be more concise where possible. For example, instead of the year 2017, just use 2017. Clarity and flow. Work on improving sentence flow. For example, use while, W-H-I-L-E, instead of on the other hand for smoother transitions between ideas. Maria, you're doing well overall, and with a little more practice, your writing will be even stronger. So keep up the great work. Based on Maria's response, I would estimate the band score for this piece of IELTS Writing Task 1 at band 6. And here is a detailed breakdown of why this score fits Maria. Now, for a task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and for grammatical range and accuracy, we score, and the score is a maximum of 9. and then we take an average of that. So we're going one by one. Let's look at task achievement as a subcategory of the score. So here, the first part is going to be the student strength, and then I'll suggest areas for improvement. Maria has described the data clearly with a reasonable attempt to explain the key trends, such as the sources of funding and how it was spent. The main points are definitely addressed, including details about the national government being the major provider and how funds were used. Now, these are areas for improvement. While the key trends are described, there is a lack of clear focus on all key data points. For instance, the comparison between 2017 and 2018 could be more explicit, and some figures are mentioned but not fully analyzed. For example, the 10% increase in taxes in 2018 is mentioned, but Maria does not go into much detail about what this means in the context of the overall budget. Now, next scoring pattern from a subcategory scoring perspective would be coherence and cohesion. I've given Maria score 6 for this and score 6 for the previous subcategory, which is task achievement. Now here are Maria's strengths, and this is for coherence and cohesion. The ideas are logically organized, and there is an overall progression of thought from general to more specific details. The use of cohesive devices or words like while, and on the other hand, help to guide the reader through the information. Now, here is what I would suggest for improvement. Some sentences could be clearer and better linked. For example, the need to update technology was felt in 2018 could benefit from a more explicit transition from the previous idea. And phrases like, on the other hand, are a bit informal for academic writing. Next, scoring pattern subcategories with respect to lexical resource, and I have given band 6 for Maria. Here are the strengths observed by me. Maria uses a reasonably wide range of vocabulary and has attempted to use formal phrases like allocated and remuneration, which is good. Now, suggestions for improvement. There are some word choices that can be more formal and academic, such as replacing meager percent with modest percentage and finance with funds. Also, while the vocabulary is appropriate, there could be more variety in the lexical choices to avoid repetition. For example, revenue and funds could be used more interchangeably, and spent could be replaced with the word allocated or used, USED, used for variety. So the last categorization from a scoring perspective would be on grammatical range and accuracy, and I've given Maria 6 again. And here are her strengths. Maria uses a range of sentence structures, including complex sentences, which is positive. Now, here are my suggestions. There are some issues with subject-verb agreement, punctuation, and articles. For example, spending on buildings should be remained constant because spending is singular and the year 2017 could simply be 2017. Additionally, sentences such as the need to update technology was felt are somewhat awkwardly phrased and could be more precise. There are also minor issues with article use. For example, the major lender resources could be simplified to the primary source of funding. All right, so overall, Maria has managed to score 6 for IELTS writing with respect to task 1. Maria demonstrates a solid understanding of the data and is able to convey key information effectively. However, there is a room for improvement in coherence, lexical range, and grammatical accuracy. The response lacks full analysis of the data, which prevents it from scoring higher, as higher bands require deeper insight and clearer, more sophisticated language used, with respect to the academic style of writing. Maria also has made some minor errors in grammar and punctuation, which impacted clarity at times. With practice, particularly in reducing these grammatical errors and improving cohesion between ideas, a higher band score would be achievable. All the best, Maria!